Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to see you back. I'm glad to be back here at Rick's Place on the Voice 17104 with Pastor Chris Thomas.
God bless you, sir.
All right, amen, sir. Amen. It's amazing, isn't it, folks? Have you been keeping up with the current events? Happenings in America. You understand there is no longer a Speaker of the House. This hasn't happened ever in the history of the United States. So Kevin McCarthy, who was the Speaker, is no longer the Speaker. He's done. I wasn't a big Kevin McCarthy fan to begin with. As far as I'm concerned, he was as big a Trumper as his main man, Matt Gaetz, who got rid of him. Now, you have to understand, folks, that, and it's sad to see, their inability to govern. I'm talking about the Republicans in Washington, D.C. And this is your boy, right, wrong, or indifferent, strengths, weaknesses, whatever. You selected him Speaker. And Kevin McCarthy, if you don't know, is a Republican. The Republicans hold the majority in the Congress. Matt Gaetz, who is a complete idiot, self-serving, inconsiderate buffoon, is what Matt Gaetz is. But Kevin agreed to some things in the beginning, way back in January, that he should have never agreed to. Never want something, folks, so bad that you put yourself in jeopardy. Because that's what Kevin did. He wanted to be Speaker of the House so bad that he took the suggestions of these maniacs, the MAGAs, the Trumpers and the Trumpettes, who would like nothing more to see the destruction of this country, because they work on it every day. The destruction of democracy following their idiot leader, Donald Trump. Yeah, man. And don't get me wrong, all this didn't start with Donald. Oh, no, get in your history books. Do your research. This goes all the way back to Newt Gingrich, who planted the seed of not the opposing parties having basic ideological differences. So the wise man said, we can disagree and remain friends. That was a Newt's thing. Newt said, you have to see them as the enemy. You're a fellow American. You have to see them as the enemy. I totally disagree with that. These are friends and neighbors. You happen to just have a disagreement on how to approach things. That's why in politics, there's compromise. So politics is all about. They don't get everything they want. We don't get everything we want as Democrats. But we come to a reasonable decision that we both can live with. We get some things, not everything. They get some things, not everything. Well, the megas don't agree with that at all. We want it all or nothing. And their all means nothing for the people. Nothing. They don't even think about the people. Because they've been non-functional since they got there. So how can they possibly be thinking about the people? And now they done threw their boy out. But listen to the insanity. The megas got so upset with Kevin McCarthy, their guy, who they voted in as speaker, because he compromised with the other half of the House to avoid a governmental shutdown. A governmental shutdown would have been devastating to America, the American people, who they don't think nothing about them Republicans, got angry with Kevin. Shouldn't have made no compromise with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, the president. What are you talking about? Trying to avoid a governmental shutdown. Yes, he certainly should have. He's the Speaker of the House. He's responsible for the American people. He's supposed to be, not according to the mega. But you know the hypocritical part of this, folks? Matt Gaetz, like I said back in January, Kevin should have never agreed that one lone congressman or woman can bring forth challenging your position as speaker. One person out of 400 some people. Now, how do you agree to that, Kevin? Because you wanted to be speaker. Never want something bad, that bad, folks, that is devastating to you. Short term or long term. But Kevin did. He agreed to his own demise. You get back to this nut, Matt Gaetz. He brought forth and now accused, said he was angry, and accused Kevin of compromising with the Democrats, who are also Congress people. Okay. Then he turns around. He didn't have enough votes to get rid of Kevin, but he knew. But the Democrats wasn't. He wasn't their choice to be Speaker, Republican. You guys. So Kevin knew if he could convince at least 10 other Republicans to vote no, because he knew the Democrats was going to vote no, they can get rid of it. And that's exactly what they did. They voted with the Democrats. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Matt. You can't have it both ways, dude. You accuse him of working with the Democrats to prevent a government shutdown, but then you vote with the Democrats to get rid of him. Come on, dude. And you go immigrate. And mind you, Kevin is probably the weakest House leader that they've had in a very long time, or that they ever had, probably. Because I don't know no House Speaker Democrat or Republican would have agreed to that. But it ain't so much that he agreed to it. He had the Republicans vote for it. The moderates and the nuts and the mega Trumpers. Come on, come on. I wouldn't be voting with these buffoons on nothing. Are you that fearful? Oh, yeah, but then you shouldn't be there. Is your position so important to you that you go against your constituency? Because you just want to sit in that seat and say you're a congressman or a congresswoman? The base what? The base is being lied to and deceived. And you sit there and go along to get along? No, no, don't ever do that. They'll sell your soul to the devil. And what has they accomplished for the American people? They jump up here and I hear them holler and all that. But what have they done to improve their quality of life? I keep look. Where's the evidence that they've done anything since they've been there for the American people? Not just the people in their district. Those Americans. What they do for them? Nothing. And then they put up another buffoon, Jim Jordan, and he wants to be speaker. Well, you right back where you started at. At least that Kevin was willing to compromise. This guy ain't gonna compromise on anything. But what does that remind you of, folks? That history book? I know you learned somewhat about it, but go to the library. You have to understand Rome, one of the greatest empires that this world has ever known, would have never been defeated from the outside. Rome had the most powerful military in the world. Sound familiar? No. Rome was destroyed from within. Constant bickering back and forth with various political factions to the point where Rome split itself in half. You know, Eastern Empire and the Western Empire. Lessons in the Bible. We should have told them that wasn't going to work. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Rome divided itself. Look in the Congress. It is a divided Congress. Now, one major political party is fractured. Keep your eye on that, folks. Excuse me. Seems to me what they couldn't accomplish on January 6, 2021, they're trying to accomplish in this Congress. And they are a minority. I don't think there's 25 of them. I think it's about 20. And about maybe 4 or 5 extreme MAGAs that's holding up the Congress, holding up the country. Think about that. If they're willing to tear themselves apart, what makes them think they won't tear you apart? I apart, and anyone else that they think is in their way. Understand that? Country is imploding on itself. Not exploding, imploding. We're watching the Republicans implode on themselves. It was fascinating. I sat there in front of the TV watching CNN. I could not believe it. That's like watching January 6th. I couldn't believe that either. Tearing your own behind. Tearing yourself up. Come on, we'll take our country back. Well, who got it? The Russians? The Chinese? The Iranians? The Belgians? Who got it? North Korea? You got it. We're taking our country back. What, from yourself? So what, was that part of taking your country back when you threw Kevin out? Kevin didn't do what I told him. Who are you? Matthew. This boy is crazy. But he's just as crazy as Daddy Donald Trump. Who stood outside the courtroom being foolish. Talking about the judge and talking about the judge's clerk. That's pure insanity. To talk about the man who will now have to decide on your life. Because he said to Donald Trump, his life is his money. Any other greedy despot. Remind me before he made the change of Ebenezer Scrooge. Jacob Marley. Trump's in that category. Only Trump has no intentions of reforming. None. You got his little minions running around like Jim Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Mac Gates and Laura Boebert and that crazy woman from Arizona, Carrie Lake. Yeah, that's her name. But see, they all over the country. Donald Trump. The man got 91 criminal charges. They're all felonies. They don't care. They want to put this master criminal in the White House. He was a criminal. They were doing all kinds of things that were illegal while he was president. And they want him to have another bite at the apple so he can finish what he started on January 6th. Come on, people. Come on. How dysfunctional has this country become? And I never thought that I would ever see the Republican Party in this condition. Ever. I don't think you either. I don't think you would ever thought that either. There are two major parties with ideological differences. That's the balance, folks. When one goes crazy, then what do you have? What's left? When one party decides they should become a cult, what's going on? Keep your eye on that. Watch it carefully because for those of you who don't think it's going to affect you, yes, it is. It's indirectly affecting you now. Don't let it directly affect you. Let it get there because democracy is out the window. They're throwing democracy out the window now. Look what they're doing. Not in the history of this country. The Speaker of the House been thrown out. And for what? For something that is as much a part of politics as breathing. Compromise. And he got thrown out for compromising on your behalf. So you could continue to get a paycheck. So you could continue to provide for your family. So you can continue to live in the house you live in. They threw him out. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Kevin McCarthy. But Kevin McCarthy wasn't the worst. So it is far worse than him. And now the maggots are running around talking about, oh, we're going to make Trump Speaker of the House. The same house he ordered the attack on. How you going to make him Speaker? So he didn't have to have him attack it. He just opened the door and let him come in there. Huh. Sad, people. It's sad to watch America imploding on itself. It's interesting and dangerous. And Democrats, you can't sit on the sideline now. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because you sit on the sideline, you end up getting swept up. Don't do that. We're not going to help them. We're not going to help Kevin. And I'm not arguing that you should have. But I'm arguing the fact that you should have thought about that. Because there's those in that Congress that are far worse than Kevin could ever be. We're not helping him. Okay. Wise man once said, don't worry about what may happen. Don't be concerned about too much what might happen. But please pay attention to what does happen. And being part of a group, could you prevent this happening? You got to think about Democrats in that house. Because what the Republicans are doing to rip themselves apart can become contagious as those vying for power begin to make their political moves. Think. Now, listen to the sister. Young sister too, Jasmine Crockett. She's in the House. She's a Democrat who laid some things out the other day. And I listened to that young sister and said, whoa, listen to her. Speaking truth to power. While she was in the hearing where they was trying to come up with some evidence, which there was none, to start an impeachment proceeding against Joe Biden. She laid that in her dissertation. She laid out that information on the lack of evidence that this was a waste of time and the taxpayers' money when there's other important things that they should be addressing and working on. And there was another sister from New York that got on there, start laying it down. Seems like black women in Congress seem to be more aware than anybody there. Oh, you got some brothers in there, Hakeem Jeffries, and he's the minority speaker, and some other. But the sisters is on it. Come on, man. If you got to save that other major party from destroying itself, get involved. Because it's a balancing act, folks. You exist because of them. They exist because of you. You can't afford a vacancy over there. You can't look over at other end of the island and what's there. Because if you let them to their own devices, they end up killing each other. Behind one man who wants total and absolute control. And everybody's aware he wants to be a dictator. There's no secret in that anymore. And if you got any questions about that, then maybe you should see a psychiatrist. There's no more questions about that. And if you think it don't affect you, then you're really wrong. Completely wrong. And if you don't think it's going to affect us, then you're insane. Everything affects us first. The African American, what are you crazy? You don't have a history book? And see, one thing about Americans, the American Caucasian, is like the German. They write everything down. Everything. They document everything, their whole history. That's why we're able to research and find out that we're just in a bigger mess today as we was then. Because now it is totally institutionalized. It has become a way of life. No, the first argument, we didn't own no slaves. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Because the same system perpetuated then is ingrained. That's why there's the constant fight. That's why there's the constant filing of this and filing of that in open court. Why? Is everything okay? No, it's not. And now we have this. The dysfunctional government. There are three branches of government, folks. And the legislative branch is dysfunctional. It can't work like that. Democracy needs all three: executive, judicial, and legislative. Needs all three to continue to exist. Just want to share that with you today. Like to hear what you think. Put your comments on the page. We want to hear you. Positive or negative, we want to hear from you. Because I think that's a positive thing to hear what people think. It helps mold our thinking. It helps the show. It helps everything. You, the people. That's what we're here to serve. Thanks for listening. Good seeing you again. Have a great day.